the hype that comes along with being the first overall pick, and he wants to do great things here in Chicago, he being Caleb Williams. So do we expect Caleb to do great things in Chicago? 2-5, you up first.
I'm up first. I think so. I think we will not see any bust in Chicago with number 18 on. I think he's that good. You know what's funny? Like, now we're in a Patrick Mahomes era. That's what I call it now. And that means he's the most dominant quarterback and he's playing at a certain level. But everybody wants to copycat that. Like, every team wants to have their Patrick Mahomes. That's why you draft the certain players you draft. He's the first quarterback I've really seen. Okay, he has a lot of Patrick Mahomes in him. The way he throws the ball, the way he commands the offense, right? All the special things he has with him. So I don't see anything wrong with it. I think he'll be successful in Chicago, and I think they'll get their number 1 pick, and they'll be super happy with it.
Joy, great things. You expect that from Caleb Williams in Chicago?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's also because they've done great work to put good pieces around him.
That matters, too.
So he's going into what appears, at least on paper, to be a good situation. And when you are talking about making the transition at that position to the NFL, the expectations that come with the number 1 overall pick, then the expectations that are coming with being compared to Patrick Mahomes, and then the pressure of trying to drag Chicago out of this abyss of never having a franchise quarterback, there's a lot. But they've done a great job, Ryan Poles specifically, of putting really good pieces around him, giving him options, of giving him weapons, giving him a little bit of stability. I think that's super important for a rookie. I mean, Shady and I talk about this all the time, the expectations that we have for rookies. They're not going to be reasonable for Caleb Williams. But as far as what he's going to do in the long term in Chicago, there's no reason to think he won't be successful there. And they might be successful this season based off of what they've put around him. So I think it's a great situation. I think he will do great things.
I agree. Here's my concern for everybody at the table and for you at home is, I was thinking about this the other day, Joy. If you look at an organization and they've never had a certain something, and it's the same something, I no longer look at the thing. I look at the organization. If I look at an organization and they've always had a certain something, and it's the same something, I don't look at the thing. I look at the organization. I'll start with the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are always going to have a good running back. DeMarco Murray led the league in rushing yards. While LaShawn McCoy was playing, he led the league in rushing yards. Ezekiel Elliott led the league in rushing yards. Emmitt Smith leads the NFL in rushing yards. Cowboys are always going to have a good running back. They always will. At least check. Every 2 years, they're going to have a good running back. Steelers are always going to have a good defense. The Browns are never going to have a good quarterback. The Bears have never had a good quarterback. Not all of those quarterbacks are sorry. I played with them in the NFL. I played with them in college. I played against them in college. They're not all sorry. But for whatever reason, in Cleveland, they never perform. I don't believe all these Bears quarterbacks have been historically sorry. But for whatever reason, in Chicago, they never perform. If you look at an organization and they always have a certain something, Bears bad quarterbacks, Browns bad quarterbacks, Bears really good defenses, and that organization never has a certain something, I no longer look at the thing. The reason I bring that up is Caleb is, to me, the greatest college talent I've seen at the quarterback position based upon how the current NFL is structured. You need to be able to throw off platform. You need to be able to run. You need to be able to create your own plays. You need to be able to throw at any arm angle. You need to be able to do all those things. Caleb can do it better than any college prospect that I have seen based on how the current NFL system is being structured. But Justin Fields wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad. In Chicago, he was. But in real life, he wasn't that bad.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is the Justin Fields that we saw coming out of college, because right now all we've seen is Caleb Williams coming out of college. Justin Fields had 41 touchdowns. He had 3 interceptions. Justin Fields played with a lot of talent at wide receiver. Caleb Williams had Jordan Addison at USC.
It did.
So Justin Fields wasn't that bad, but then you go to Chicago and he was that bad. I say that to say I need to see the Bears help Caleb Williams out, because I'm worried about the Bears potentially causing flaws in Caleb Williams' game, because we've never seen a quarterback pass for 4,000 yards in Chicago. Obviously, I believe Caleb Williams will do so. But when I look at the Bears and they always have a certain something they struggle with, I'm just trying to make sure that the Bears don't lose.
What's my saying?
Okay. That was a lot of nonsense. When I hear someone talk and they spit a lot of nonsense, I don't look at the person. I look at the nonsense. Blah, 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 blah. What are we talking about here? What happened historically with the franchise? I can't emphasize this enough. It does not matter. It does not matter. These teams don't have a soul. that can't be created nor destroyed, that this is just who they are to the core, or that the environment, meaning like the weather, is so specific, or the water is contaminated, that makes the team either a great defense or a great offense, or really slow or really fast. It's like, what are we talking about? If everything was the exact same thing, the exact same coaches, the exact same scouts, the exact same everything, then you could make that argument. Then you could say, hey, in the last 20 years, they have not had a good quarterback because, hey, let's say Coach John Washington, he clearly does not know how to develop a quarterback, and the GM, Michael Jones, clearly doesn't know how to draft quarterbacks. So therefore, for the last 20 years, we can say they are just not going to do that. That's not the way this works, okay? You have different staff, different personnel, different coaches, different OCs, DCs, different everything, okay? So it's just so absurd, okay? It really, really is. And this notion that Justin Fields was even remotely on the level of, say, Caleb Williams is just also absurd. Just because you're really fast, and just because you can do things athletically, something that you definitely benefit in college, doesn't mean that you're going to be a great quarterback in the NFL. Doesn't mean that you know how to actually process the game quickly, make the appropriate decisions, right? So this idea that the Chicago Bears failed Justin Fields and therefore they just are going to fail Caleb Williams, because that's essentially what Acho is getting at, right? Like, that is what he's trying to emphasize. It's just absurd. Okay, it just really, really is. Justin Fields was a very exciting player to watch, very dynamic, very quick and fast, and can do some of those fancy things. We confuse that with greatness. Okay, it's just a tired narrative at this point. There's plenty of quarterbacks that can do some really cool stuff, right? That can look like they are Patrick Mahomes. But they don't process the game fast enough. They don't consistently make the right decision. They have terrible pre-snap reads. They have terrible leadership. They can't make the easy throws. Their accuracy, for the most part, is not very good. Sure, they can make a deadly throw here and there that then makes you think, look at that accuracy, because then on TV they say, oh my God, that throw was unbelievable. You know, only one player could make that throw, and that player is Justin Fields or whoever the quarterback is at that time. And then everyone thinks, oh my God, see, that's amazing. That's just what commentators say all the time. They're not going to say, wow, he pulled that out of his back pocket. I've never seen him make a throw like that. Clearly, that was lucky. They don't say that when you watch the games. So the fans watch it, they hear it, and then they start to believe it. So I just take such issue with that. And I don't want this to turn into me bashing Justin Fields, because we're not here to talk about Justin Fields. We're here to talk about Caleb Williams. And this idea that we even have to question, can Caleb Williams do great things? And I guess it's specifically, can he do great things in Chicago, is absurd. Because then they were even using the wrong language. They were saying, oh, the Chicago Bears, you know, have a good team around them, or they did some good things. No, they did some great things. They clearly are taking the steps forward to put Caleb Williams in a great position to succeed. I think there's still moves to be made. I really do. And I don't even want to get into that because I've talked about that a lot. But just this idea that the Chicago Bears, to their core, inherently are incapable of having a good quarterback, because that is the nonsense that Acho was trying to spit out, is just that. It's just nonsense. I mean, it just really, really is. We can do that about so many various teams, so many various franchises, right? This idea that the Dallas Cowboys will always have an amazing running back. Who was their amazing running back last season? Like, I don't understand. Troy Aikman, unbelievable quarterback. Who has been good enough to lead them to Super Bowls? Who has been their Emmitt Smith? I don't understand even what he's trying to get at. Again, if it was the same coach from that whole time, and you can make the argument that they're the same GM and ownership, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Has any other quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs ever been as good as Patrick Mahomes? You could have said, well, the Kansas City Chiefs have never had a quarterback as good as Patrick Mahomes, so therefore there'll never be a quarterback as good as Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like, what? What are we talking about? Did the regime not completely change the moment Andy Reid got there? Was it not Andy Reid's decision to say, you know what, Alex Smith is an amazing quarterback. We need, in order for us to win, we need to upgrade. We need to get Patrick Mahomes. And that's what they did. But yet their history would have said that they wouldn't have done that. So this idea to use the history, especially the long-term history, we're going to go back 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, however many years, that is one of just, I don't even know what to say. The only things that I want to say, I don't want to say, because I don't want to bash these people, because I never want to bash these people. I always want to just bash the take, right? I never will make videos and say, this guy's so dumb, he's so this, he's so that. That's not my agenda. My agenda is always to look at the take, right? Look at the sin, not the sinner. But I just like, my head wants to explode when I hear that, because those takes, they think they're smart, that they sound smart, but they're not. And just because you could talk fast and use, you know, some good vocabulary doesn't make it correct. Okay? Just because you dress nice doesn't make you smart. And I'm not talking about anyone specifically. I'm just talking about generally now. And I know everyone's going to think that I'm talking about Acho specifically, and I'm really not. I'm just talking generally, because you see this with a lot of people. But just, oh my God, I'm sorry. This take itself is just absurd to me. It really, really is. And I know Acho gets a lot of hate for a lot of things. And I don't want, you know, again, I don't want this to turn into just like, let's bash Acho, because I think a lot of these guys up here just kind of didn't really give Caleb Williams his flowers and what the Chicago Bears are doing. But I just, man, the whole take is, it's a pet peeve of mine to use this idea of like, they haven't done this thing for like 30 years, 20 years, whatever, therefore they never will do it, is just, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. And so majority of the professional athletes out there who have made all their money and became Hall of Famers, their parents weren't Hall of Fame athletes. Their parents weren't successful. No one in their ancestral line got to the NFL, the NBA. Obviously, there's a couple of those, right, that obviously exist. But for the vast majority of players, not, right? LeBron James's dad was a Michael Jordan, okay? And yet, look what he became. Look what all these players became. Using your history as a predictor of the future makes no sense in this context. It makes no sense. Absolute zero. What Caleb Williams can do in Chicago has nothing to do with any other quarterback that the Chicago Bears have had in the past, unless the team is identical, unless the coaching is identical, right? Then you could potentially make that argument. We could not be further from the truth for that. So nonsense to me. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you expect Caleb Williams to do great things? Or do you think he's got bust potential? Or do you think Chicago will hold him back? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.